give up. We have to quit podcasting if this one's
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, it's been a good run. I feel like.
Yeah, we're up to like episode 15 or something, I think now.
Mate, some people, they don't get past 10.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've made it.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Common Ground. We're talking about the things that bring us all together, and we're covering a sizzling topic today. Something sacred, it's something primal, it's something that's part of almost every culture around the world. It's not just food, it's community, competition, chaos, all rolled into one. We're, of course, talking today about barbecue. So grab your tongs, fire up that grill, or however you like to barbecue, and let's take this global. Roger, barbecuing is a huge part of your culture, my culture, in the Antipodes, but also every culture around the world. Talk to us about barbecue culture around the world. How does it differ, etc.?
Yeah. It's quite a fascinating topic because it does touch everybody around the world in different ways, but also it's something that everyone can connect to. So yes, I think most of us have grown up with it, specifically men as well. It just seems to be a very primal thing, cooking meat. Whenever you're at a party, if you're a guy, you're not really sure what to do, circling the barbecue is a pretty safe option. There's always some comments thrown here and there, and it's just grown massively. So the barbecue grill market, it's worth 5.3 billion in 2024, and it's going to grow to 7 billion by 2030, which is insane. Right. But there's also a broader market, which is barbecue and grills, because there's a lot of different things happening in that market in terms of how people want to grill things, to your point earlier. That's about 15 billion in 2024. And that's going to be 21 billion in 2029. And these are massive numbers, right? And obviously North America, still the dominant force is with a lot of different things, but it's about 50% of the market. It's fastest growing. It makes sense because it's such a big thing in their culture around having barbecues and families and everyone get together. But also I think not only is barbecuing, but also things like gas grills, the thing that has the most amount of sales, but now there's smart and hybrid grills as well. So, I mean, for those of us who are not as gifted at cooking meat, you can now have Wi-Fi connected thermometers. You can have, apps that tell you when your meat's done or not, so you're not having to bite into anything which is burnt. But it is something that brings a lot of people together. And because I think after COVID, so post-COVID, everyone wanted to get together, families going together, groups are going together, neighborhoods, it's just grown rapidly. There's also kind of some really interesting things in terms of how people want to grill and how this is getting done now than what was traditionally done 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think during COVID, a lot of people started cooking more in general, right? And when it came to summer, everyone wanted to cook outside. And definitely hear what you say about the smart barbecues and stuff. Like, gone are the days of just like, you squeeze it or whatever, see if it's done or not. There's a little bit more science behind it now, I'm glad.
Yeah, you put like a fork into it or something, or But there's always varying debates as well. Everyone's kind of, typically everyone has different opinions about if it's done, but there's always comments around, different things.
Yeah. And listen, obviously we spoke at the start about like Australia and New Zealand, which I think have a pretty similar barbecue culture.
Definitely.
It's pretty simple. Throw some shrimp on a barbie was I think it was a tourism slogan, right?
It was a tourism. No one in Australia actually does it, but it was like a thing that everyone kind of caught on to. I don't know who would put shrimp on barbies because it doesn't smell great. And
no.
I mean, if you were, that's great. But like, you can also cook it in other ways, which isn't as, I guess, polarizing.
Also, in Australia, no one calls them shrimp. You call them prawns, right? Like
correct. Yes, it is also called something different. But it was like a whole ad, right? So obviously everyone gets behind it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think Australia and New Zealand as well, like cooking meat. I know with like New Zealand, like cooking lamb specifically, and that came to Australia as well. There's even like specific holidays where it's a big thing of like cooking specifically a type of meat, but it's across the world. So Argentina's big eaters, they've got something called asado, which is like where all entire families get together and have this open flame fire. Sounds very South American. Korea's got this like you have the Korea barbecue where they cook everything in front of you. It's like almost like a show as well as a meal. Brazil, I mean, if you've ever had Brazilian like a Brazilian barbecue, churrasco, like they just bring you meat and more meat and more meat. And I like have these like flashbacks of the meat being unbelievably good. And then I like asked for something else and they were like, here's some rice. Here is some lettuce. So then I was like, no, just meat. Just, yeah, they're very lean, protein heavy. South Africa's got this thing called the braai. I hope I'm saying that right. It's like a national holiday where they have barbecue. So there's a lot of these things that bring people together. Japan's got this yakiniku, where they do kind of small pieces, and obviously like Australia and New Zealand, it's like very big of like having a barbecue on an afternoon, typically on a Saturday or Sunday. It's definitely brings people together. So all around the world, this is something that unites people and is seen as something which not only is for family but also for neighborhoods.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I've got a great Brazilian barbecue story. We went to a Brazilian barbecue, and for some reason, I don't know if it was like a prank on this guy, but the waiter, he had like a bit of a lisp, and they only sent him out with foods that started with S. Like, he just kept coming over salmon, sirloin steak, sausages. I'm like, come on, they've got to be playing a trick on this guy. Poor bloke has to say all these words and he struggles. Anyway, it's not really related to Brazilian barbecue, but it made me think of that. Now, you mentioned a few different barbecue styles like
Yeah,
yakiniku and braai. You know, some of these are gas cooking, some of them are charcoal. I don't know if you remember King of the Hill, Hank Hill, who was a propane salesman. His
yeah,
slogan used to be "Taste the meat, not the heat."
yeah.
Tell me about this schism, let's say, between gas and charcoal.
It is a very hotly contested debate of how to cook meat better. Gas dominates most households. I think most people have it in their house, and so cooking with gas, it's the focus being speed and simplicity. So there are a lot of people they are in apartments or they may not have like the space to have like charcoal or proper cooker. So gas is very much dominated. Charcoal loyalists, though, look, they talk about the flavor and the tradition, and it's also, I think, a culture in itself. It's like the preparation for it. There's a great Family Guy bit where Quagmire has this like charcoal grill, and like he jokes about they have to like stay up to midnight to like wait for it to hit the optimum temperature and then cook the meat and it is a bit like that where they are such perfectionists, but also there's so much thought in that cooking that it's got its own art form and its own beauty. So it's very much that speed, simplicity, convenience versus flavor, tradition, the culture of it. But the challenge now is that the technology, as always, is coming in and completely changing up that divide. So now you've got hybrid, you've got pellets, you've got Kamado grills, you've got different kind of grills, you've got electric grills now. And so it's causing a lot of questions on, do you need gas? Do you need to have charcoal? Like, not only from an eco point of view in terms of waste, but also from energy, from space, people not having to have, outdoor, balconies or anything like that. They might want to just have like a small little space. So that's causing a lot of conversation, especially people who are in like compact apartments, etc. There's actually a fun fact in Argentina, the asadores trained for years. In Japan, the yakiniku chefs use precise heat mapping. So people do train, and this is very much an art form in itself in a lot of countries. So it should be understood that, like with anything, there is a refined way to do it. So there's method in the madness, but I wouldn't. You've got to also think about what's going to make sense for you.
Yeah, and speaking of like method and being trained, and I think for me, the biggest thing I've noticed over my life is like when I was younger, barbecuing was like get a few sausages from the supermarket that
Mm.
probably were more breadcrumb than meat, throw them on a gas grill, watch until they're shriveled and burnt, and that was, you know.
Yeah,
Whereas now it's like very like gourmet, people putting in, like you said, cooking for hours, low and slow cooking is a thing. Like,
Mhm.
tell me about like the foodification of barbecue, I guess.
Yeah. So I think people always find a, with any hobby, they will start refining it and it becomes something that is meticulous. So things like smoked briskets and really cooking things for long periods of time, rather than just chucking some sausages on the grizzle, like on the sizzle, it's now very much about slow and low heat. So the American pitmasters who do, the really delicious smoked briskets, they're now extremely popular. So people have backyard smokers, people do like briskets for 12 hours at home. You'll go to a lot of like there's these festivals where they have like anything barbecue related. There's always going to be those. Yeah, I know. You can smell it a mile away before you even see it. And there's also kind of trucks as well that do it. So it very much has its own culture. It's huge in the UK, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, anywhere kind of those Western red meat eating cultures. But there's other ones as well. So there's the Super Bowl of swine in the US. So teams around the world compete. Of course, it's the US. They've got to have a competition around, cooking meat. There's actually, I'm surprised I haven't heard of this amount of meat stock in Australia and New Zealand. There's like 100,000 people who do it. I know there's like small
Well,
meat festivals, but that's huge, right? Glasgow, Scotland, obviously it's got the Smoke and Soul Festival. So everyone has these festivals where they not only cook meat, there's different types of meat, and smoking and that slow cooking is that art form is really celebrated. It's not just meat anymore now. So it's not just, I think obviously like anything it evolves. So now it's things like, okay, we want to be able to do fusion rubs and sauces and, marinades and like peri peri, chimichurri, plant-based grilling and veggie options, which I think in this day and age is becoming more popular. People want that taste, but they don't necessarily want to have meat. So it's really, really fascinating at the moment because not only is it an art form itself and it's growing, but it's also evolving.
yeah, absolutely, and it's super exciting to see. You know, like those sad overcooked sausages. I mean, I feel like back in the day, the height of gourmet food was the Bunnings sausage sizzle, and I think we're well past that now.
The height of was budding sausage. I worked one of those, right? You're chucking
Yeah, I've done.
sausages and you're guessing it, and then you like chuck the onions on there. And I couldn't believe how long the line was. So for those viewers, Bunnings is a Australian institution. It's like they have a competitor, but yeah, Bunnings is probably the main one.
It's like a DIY home improvement
It's a
store.
DIY home improvement store, and every Saturday they actually have a sausage sizzle, and a lot of time it's raising money for charities. And myself and I think David have totally done a stint doing it. And it is like the lines. People will line up for a very simple, not fantastically well cooked sausage with onions. And that's it sometimes. And some sauce, maybe.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
might put, and it's like so like gourmet or like great buns or like it's pretty standard stuff. But it was just, yeah, it's people line up and it's a whole thing. And but yeah, it is. Think. I don't know if that's going to hold up now. With people wanting that, going to ask, is this slow cooked? It's like, what kind of meat did you use? What kind of cooker you got back there? Is that charcoal? Yeah,
100%. All right. Well, we always like to leave our listeners with like a sort of, I don't know, maybe not controversial, but a kind of question that will get people talking and get the
yeah.
debate raging as you stand around the barbecue clicking the tongs. So, what kind of question would you suggest if you're one of our listeners and you're talking to a bunch of barbecue lovers?
Yeah. So because there's so many different types of meat and obviously, there's a lot to tackle. A very good open question that I find works well, and David, I think you might as well, is how do you cook your roast? Now it could be roast beef, it could be pork. Um, a lot of people have a roast typically on a Sunday, but there are a huge variety of ways that people can cook a roast. They'll have differing opinions on how do they cook it, sear it, marinate it? Do they put it in the oven? Do they put it on the grill? Is they do gas? Do they, like they're, what temperature do they do it at? I could almost guarantee that there is at least 20 to 30 minutes conversation just by asking that question. And if you bring in things like, how long do you marinate it for, or like, different ways to cook the meat and check temperatures, yeah, it'll probably be a few hours. So just make sure you've got your favorite beverage flowing.
Sounds like a fun conversation to me. Listen, no, I'm not being sarcastic.
No, I know you would. You'd be like, actually, I do a sous vide for guess if I
Yeah,
check the
yeah,
temperature at this time and I wake up at 3 a.m. and make sure it's still going.
absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for this, Roger. I am absolutely starving. Unfortunately, the weather here in London is not amenable for to a barbecue.
Mm.
But thank you so much to our listeners. Thanks for joining us. Next time you fire up the grill, whether it's in the backyard, a rooftop BBQ in Seoul, or by the river in Rio, remember it's not just about food, it's about people, it's about the stories, and it's that smell of smoke in the air. Until next time, join us again if you have suggestions or requests for topics that we should cover next, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.